If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, Chris Gutierrez is back on the show. Picked up his second straight win in Uruguay on Saturday over Geraldo de Freitas. How are you, Chris?
I'm good, man. Just resting in recovery right now, like you said, a little R&R.
Little R&R for you. Man, the last time we spoke, you had put a lot of pressure on yourself to get a win on Saturday. It was a very close fight. How did you feel about your performance overall?
I think, and being all honesty, I think I made the fight a little closer than it should have been. Some things I got to go back to the drawing board and do. But like I said, I made the fight closer than it should have been. I should have listened a little more to my corners. And but ultimately, I think what won me the fight is I dropped him several times with leg kicks, and I did the most damage. The damage that I received was from a headbutt. I got a couple stitches to the head, but that was due to a headbutt. So if you take the headbutt away, I was probably bleeding on my eye from a punch, but it was mainly the headbutt that had me, leaking a lot of blood. But other than that, I did the most damage, he was taking control of the octagon, as far as pressure. But like I said, I was creating the most damage, and I was dropping him the most.
What was the game plan heading into the fight? Because, it turned, especially that third round, it really turned into a dogfight, and he was getting tired. He's definitely bigger for the weight class, and a lot of people on Twitter were saying that he should probably, not fight at that weight class anymore after that fight because you really tuckered him out and you took advantage later on in the fight. But what was the game plan heading in?
The game plan was just to be myself. We're really big on how do you say it? You train for, I don't really train. You do train for an opponent, but you don't focus so much on working. You take 2 or 3 things that they're good at, and then you try to nullify that. But overall, I think where people fail is they try to work for an opponent instead of working on perfecting their own craft. So all camp, I was perfecting my mental state and perfecting my own craft. On any given day where I'm on my game, I'm one of the dangerous fighters in the world. I'm the best fighter in the world, and when you have the right mind state and you're just at one, man, you're a dangerous person. So I believe that for this fight, it was just focusing on me and just doing me. But third round, it became a dogfight. Like you said, we both had a bite down, and we had to find who had the most heart and who was willing to quit. And as you can see, we both had no quit in us. So that was good. I say that builds a lot of character. And it shows who you are as a person, and I was willing to go out on my shield right then, but it didn't happen. I was trying to get him out of there too, and he was trying to get me out of there. So it made for a fun fight. Like I said, it builds character, it shows who you are as a person, and luckily, I'm glad we came out with the win.
What was the conversation like in the corner between the second and third round between you and your team and Mark Montoya? What was that conversation like that, it was like a switch flipped for both of you guys in that third round?
Yeah. What happened was, it was basically like, look, we gotta plant our feet and we gotta throw, it's good to angle off and find, you don't have to stand there and get, punched and get kicked, but at some point we got to plant our feet, we got to throw. And so I was trying to find my openings, and no excuses. I don't know what happened to my legs. Like the end of the first round, my legs were shot. I don't know. I don't want to blame it on the weight cut or nothing like that, because it was one of the easiest weight cut. I know everybody says that. Oh, this weight cut, this weight cut is easy. It all sucks. But for some reason, this weight cut was easy. Like, after I made weight, I had energy. I was talking. Usually I'm like, get away from me. I don't want to talk to nobody. I was talking. I wasn't hurting as bad. But I don't know. It's just my legs were fried. I have no idea why. And that hasn't happened in a long. Usually that happens like your first couple fights. But this one was like, it felt like I was doing squats in the back before I went out.
Did anything surprise you in the fight? I know you're more focused on what you're gonna do, evolving your game in terms of preparation for the fight. But in terms of what he brought to the table, did anything in that fight surprise you at all?
No, I mean we knew, typical Brazilian, he was gonna be tough. That's just how it is. He in his previous fights, he never like really threw like really wild like that until he was like close in the clinch. He actually was throwing wild outside, to get me to cover up so you can go for takedowns, and that kind of, I had to gather that intel right then on the fly and adapt to it. But usually he throws straight punches and then he starts getting sloppy, but this time he was just started winging wild punches from the get-go, and I was like, oh, that kind of threw me off a little bit. But other than that, I knew it was going to be tough. I knew he was going to look for the ground, And as soon as I started, tagging him, I knew it was going to be a matter of time before he was trying to look for the ground. And sure enough, he was.
When it went to the judges after the fight ends and they're starting to read off the scores and going through Twitter after the fight, people had the MMA media and such, they were scoring that fight everywhere from 29-28 to you to 30-27 for him. So it was kind of all over the place in terms of how the fans and the media members scored it. How are you feeling in that moment?
Well, I will say, okay, like, he did control the octagon a lot, but at times I did too. But if you want to give him that, I'll give him that. He took me down, I reversed it, I got on top, I created damage. On the feet, I knocked him down several times. I busted him up. I had him leaking. Other than the headbutt and the 2 takedowns he had, I mean, is that how you went? Is that how you give a 30-27? Look, I'm not here to take nothing away from him. I'm just saying the commission and the referees were all Brazilian. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Fair enough. You talked about, in terms of when we spoke last time, you talked about how the first win in the UFC, it was a good moment for you. It wasn't this huge weight lifted off your shoulders. It was a small weight lifted off your shoulders. But, with everything going on in your life, with everything you told us about the last time you were on here, with, you having the mindset that you had no other option but to win that fight, was this a different feeling from the last one in the aftermath?
I mean, yeah, anytime, of course, I cried in the back. You have to be Superman when you're in there, and then when you're out, reality sets in again. And the reality is I'm still fighting for my son, and these are real things. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but these are real things that we as prize fighters face. And I can only speak on my terms because these are the shoes that I'm walking in. And so when I won the fight, of course it lifted a huge weight. In a way, it is a huge weight, but in a way, it's not. You always want to win. The more you win, the more life gets easier in a way. And I want to climb up the rankings, and with that comes more things, And so I want to move up in that aspect in life. And what more can I say? I'm going through a pretty tough thing, and I had to win. I have no choice but to win. And if I lose, I'm not going to give up. Yeah, I'm going to get down on myself a little bit, but eventually I'm going to dust myself off and let's get back in there and, let's do the damn thing. But other than that, no one wants to lose. That's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. Sometimes it's not your night. It was my night Saturday, and I want to keep it that way.
I know how much fighting in Uruguay meant to you, being from your family, being from South America and everything. Did you get to spend any extra time in Uruguay after the win, or did you head right back home?
Well, our plane left like at 7 or 8 o'clock that night, so we got to go out a little bit. We got to see a little bit of Uruguay, and it was nice. It was nice to be able to relax a little bit and sleep in a little bit, go out and eat, and then go see the town. And that's what we did, and we had fun. Me, my coaches, Mark Montoya and Professor Busy, Mario Cojera, and my manager, Jason House. We all got to go out and just see the town a little bit, and that was nice.
Was there a nice buzz in the air leading into those fights? Because, I mean, that was the first event in Uruguay. The crowd was solid once we were in there, but was there a certain buzz going on in the area as the fight was getting closer and closer?
Oh, definitely. Everywhere we walked to, they're like, "Oh, you're a fighter for the UFC." And we're like, "Yeah." And like, "Can I get a picture? Can I get an autograph?" And it's a nice feeling. And I was like, "Of course." So I was just taking pictures and signing autographs. It was a nice feeling, and the people were really, really lovable down there. They were really nice to us. Even the police officers were like, they're really nice and stuff like that. And it was a nice feeling. But yeah, it was a pretty nice buzz, and everybody was asking questions. And of course, you get some of the like ridiculous questions they ask you, and like, do you like getting beat up? And you're like, well. It's not that we go in there trying to get beat up. Unfortunately it happens, but we're not going in there being like, oh, I'm going to get beat up today. And, but most of the questions are pretty legit, and, people have a sense of what they're asking.
What was the craziest question you've been asked since you've become a professional fighter?
The craziest question. Oh my God. The craziest question I've been asked. Oh, I guess one of them was like, hey, do you like being knocked out? And I was like, how do you answer that? Well, I don't think no one likes to be knocked out. And I was just like, look, man, that's not really like a really smart question to ask. Like no one, and he was like, well, I don't mean like, it happens. I'm like, well, it happens and you have to accept it. But that's not something that you're like, I just love getting knocked out. That's just something I love, But that's probably been the most, I guess, the dumbest question I've been asked. Actually, I have a friend, Austin Jones, who actually put a post, and he was like, the 5 most dumbest questions, they ask you before, like the most 5 dumbest questions, a fighter hates being asked. It's one is like, after you post something, like, hey guys, my fight is Saturday, August 10th. I'll be fighting on ESPN Plus around 4 p.m. And then people go, hey, bro, what time is your fight? Oh, my God. And then people ask, hey, what belt are you in? What belts are you in the UFC? And you're like, what belt am I in the UFC? Well, the UFC is a promotion. It's not a martial arts. You get all those kind of questions. But it was pretty funny. Like, some of those questions that people ask is like, oh, my God, did you really ask that?
I know you're doing some R&R right now. You're relaxing, recovering a little bit. Have you thought about what is next for you? And realistically, if it were up to you, when would you like to return?
Yeah, I'd like to fight before the year's up. November, December, like late November or December. So we'll see, and hopefully the little cut on the head heals quick, and but it's. I feel like I can recover and get popping before.
I was thinking about you the other day because I was having a conversation with a former opponent of yours who's actually fighting on the Contender Series tonight, Ray Rodriguez. And I remember you talking, this is like a totally different thing we were talking about, how, one of the things that you were put on this earth to do was to help people. And we were talking about, people who are suffering from depression and different things, but the loss that Ray Rodriguez suffered against you really helped him. It bounced him back in a big way. He learned a lot of valuable lessons in that fight, even in a losing way, even in a first round loss to you. But you really helped him a lot along the way in defeating him. Is that something that makes you feel good as a fighter? That it's not all personal. There are lessons to be learned all over the place here.
Oh, of course. Listen, like we all are on this. We all are on this journey to be the greatest. At least that's mine. I want to be one of the greatest fighters to ever do it. But by doing that, if I can help people along the way, then yeah, I'm happy. Like I said, I feel like that was my blessing on this earth, is to be able to help inspire, motivate people. I helped him. If I don't believe losing is losing. I believe it's a learning lesson. That's how you take it. Losing is a state of mind, and I believe Ray learned a lot, and he learned a lot about himself in that fight, how much he can actually bounce back and how much he can actually, persevere off a a learning lesson. And I've been there before. I've had learning lessons too. My first fight in the UFC was a learning lesson, and I either had to sit and be sad about it, or I had to get up off my ass and do something, and I did, And so I'm glad he's in a better mental state, and I'm glad he's pushing forward, and now he's a step closer to making his dream become a reality. I wish him the best. So if he sees this, hey Ray, go out there and kick some ass, brother. And we'll probably see each other again in the UFC. You never know.
Were you in the gym when Ian Heinisch got his birthday slaps to the belly?
I was not. I was actually in Uruguay when that happened.
Yeah, I wasn't sure when that was actually recorded, but Devontae Smith and I had a conversation. He felt he was done dirty by Mr. Ian Heinisch, and he promised and vowed that he would get him back worse than Ian got him. I think he accomplished that. Did you get to check out that video?
Yeah, we did. Ian is one of those people that when it's your birthday, I think everybody doesn't worry about everybody else. They worry about Ian. Ian's a big guy, okay? On top of that, when he fucking slaps you, oh my God. It's almost like he jumps on your stomach, the guy, he puts his ass into that slap. So when Devontae got him back, it was pretty funny to be able to see that. So I actually had a good laugh while I was cutting weight, so it was pretty nice.
That's awesome, man. Well, congratulations on the big win. I'm glad everything worked out for you. I'm glad you got to enjoy Uruguay, and now you get to enjoy some R&R with your dog at the park right now.
There you go. Before
we let you go, man, let the folks know where they can find and follow you on the web, social media, all that good stuff. We've done this a few times already, but let them know again.
You can find me on the internet, Chris Gutierrez MMA or C Gutierrez MMA, Instagram, El Guapo MMA, Chris Gutierrez on every other form. It'll pop up. To my management team, Iridium Sports, thank you so much. And my team, Factory X, Coach Mark Montoya, Professor Busy, all the coaches and teammates. To my family, to my son, Adrian, I love you, puppy. And to you, man, I appreciate you bringing me on. And, hopefully we can do it again.
Absolutely, man. Congratulations on the win and all the best to you. Continued success, man. We look forward to seeing you back in there later on this year.
Thank you, sir. It means a lot. I appreciate you.